Good evening, fellow gamers, and welcome to another episode of Stuff I Make with Grand Inquisitor Chris. Today I want to talk to you about a idea that I had for modularizing my battlefields. I'm trying to get the most bang out of my buck on my terrain. And I also wanted to solve a problem that I had with some of the craters and stuff that I've seen. So this is going to be part of an ongoing series on modularizing your battlefield. And today we're going to go ahead and talk about craters. So I'm sure most of you pretty much know this is a Games Workshop crater. It's not a horrible thing, it's not necessarily the greatest. It's designed to be cheap and easy to go ahead and paint up and throw out on your battlefield. If you want to, you can spruce it up a little more with flocking or whatever around the edges of it, but it's pretty much a one-size-fits-all solution because it's just a vacuum-formed piece of plastic that you prime black, dry brush with your colors, and toss out on your battlefield. And the problem that I see with these is they're good for quick, fast terrain for some games, but they're not really a good solution in the long run because it's a one-size-fits-all solution. If you're having a rubbled battlefield, then that means you're going to have some rubbled buildings. And the problem is that your rubbled buildings, pretty much, if you're going to put this in a building, because some games have different terrain rules and stuff for craters and for open ground and everything else. If you're going to put this in a building or as part of a building, either for the game rules or for diorama building, you pretty much have to build the building around the crater because it just doesn't fit. If you're going to put it on a wall, you have to build the walls around it because it just doesn't go into those openings. So the idea that I had was to come up with a modular crater, and that's a crater that's built in pieces to allow me to customize my battlefield however I saw fit. So I've got some of the small ones here. They're actually built in 3 separate pieces, and they fit together fairly well. But it allows me to go ahead and, if I want to put a crater on the wall, I can put a crater on the wall. Depending on how delicate you want it to look or whatever, you can change it around. Well, let me move it over to this section where the wall is a little more open. But you can put the crater on the wall. If you want to put a crater in the building, you can put craters in the building because they're small enough and they're modular enough that you can pretty much put them where you want them. Now, of course, this is a small crater. Not very much for some games. It's just an add-in piece. The way I made them was they're going to be flat on top. I added in rubble and stuff on top. But this one is a 4x4 piece, as you can see by the board here. It does 4 squares by 4 squares, each square is 1 inch. But let's say that I wanted a bigger crater on this building. Well, I actually made 3 sizes. So I have this one here. This one's made in 5 pieces and allows me to basically put it in however I want it. So if I want 6 pieces. If I want the crater to be on a big wall section, I can just move it to the big wall. Now, I made mine in a lot of pieces because, as you can see, this one's a little bit big, but let's say that I want to go ahead and fit it in a little bit better. Take that piece out, put that in there, and there you go. Now you've got a crater that goes from wall section to wall section, encompasses the break in the wall, and you can fit it in there. If you're doing a diorama, you can fit this crater into your wall. If you're doing it just for game effect, you can determine that that's where the crater is going to be. And you can do a little bit of fancier stuff if you want to by take this piece out, put this one in. Because I made these modular, I can add in craters to add or to make them a little bit bigger and more detailed. If I want to do it for a crater out in the open, again, this is highly modular. So I can make fancier craters with different shapes and everything. I'll go ahead and do the same thing over here. But this allows me to make the craters to the size and shape that I want. Now, another benefit to this is that the craters can be of variable sizes. When you buy a Games Workshop crater or any of the other craters that are made by terrain companies like Gale Force 9 or whatever, this is the size you get, so this is what it encompasses. Now, of course, this has this nice rubble textured bottom. Right now I'm showing you this in my workspace, and if this is actually going to be on a battlefield, I'll go ahead and put something under it like brown construction paper or felt, or in the case of my chosen game, Dust Tactics, go to a Kinko's or other type copy center, get a round disc of gray or whatever color I want to use for the underpinning of this, copied onto a transparency like you see for an overhead projector, and then you can put that under it. And the reason I say this for Dust Tactics is because Dust Tactics is played on a grid, so it would be transparent enough to see the grid and still show you the full effect of it. Now, it doesn't work quite as well with these little ones, but the bigger ones here, as you can see, the medium crater is this big. But let's say that I want this to represent a larger crater. I just move the sections out a bit. Using the construction paper or whatever I want to put under it, I can make the crater bigger and bigger, because for game terms it's going to affect everything under the piece of paper or transparency or whatever I put under the crater to show how big it is. This just makes it look a lot nicer. Now, as I said, I did these in 3 sizes. Here you can see the medium. You can see the smalls. I did these as fairly plain topped pieces, and what I'm doing right now is showing you what I was aiming for. The next video that you'll see will be how I actually made them. It's not terribly hard to do, but it's just the idea of putting them into sections. Now, let me show you one of the other big things that this does as far as gaming. If you use this crater, again, if you want to put it onto a hill or something, using some of my old rubber molds to make an irregular surface. Now, if you want to put this crater onto a hill, it doesn't fit because it doesn't mold to the hill. But with this, you can go ahead and mold. And there's my hill, or my crater on the hill. Now, I did this with these pieces because this makes it as incredibly as incredibly irregular of a surface as possible. But if you're putting these on a hill, on one of the standard ones that we see on gaming tables with an angled surface, these actually fit on there pretty nicely, because they're just going to angle up at whatever size they need. I did these in enough pieces that they can make a relatively good curve, even on something as irregular as my hand. So this would work really well with a hill or something where it's got a nice angle to it with fairly flat surfaces. But this is one of the other things that I see that it solves for gaming, is that it allows you to put craters anywhere on your rubbled battlefield that you want. Okay, so this is the idea that I was working toward, guys. I hope you like it. The next video that I do will be showing you the simple steps that I did to come up with this and make this. If you have any questions or comments, or just want to tell me that this is a totally sucky idea, go ahead and just leave it in the comment section. I'll read them, whether they're good or bad. I'm still getting the hang of doing these video blogs and trying to figure out what format and everything to use everything in. So if anyone has any comments or questions, or wants to talk about the video quality or make suggestions for me, please feel free to chime in. I'll talk to you guys later.